beautiful, semi-sober people who have been watching the beautiful, semi-sober people on the Golden Globes. Welcome to a special Sunday night edition of Next. I'm Kyle Clark, your host for the evening. So kind of like Jimmy Fallon, only without the talent. And my bow tie is definitely a clip-on, and I do not have matching pants for my tuxedo jacket. So come to think of it, Next will be nothing like the Golden Globes. Except hopefully, we'll make you think, make you smile, make you laugh. We'll probably get bleeped a couple of times. Next is like the news, only different. So let's do different, starting with this ridiculous outfit. Here's what's next.
Tonight on Next, protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Another Amber Alert, this time for two young brothers. A second dog rescue in the waters of Wash Park this weekend, and this time were calls for help ignored.
I didn't want to be watching a dog die while someone decided who the right person to call would be.
I-70 is a cold mess tonight. The interstate shut down. The forecast calls for wind and snow. Joy. There is joy in the world, though. Don't let the TV news fool you. The joy of a Colorado composer making the music that makes movies. The joy in Trump country, Colorado, where nearly 9 in 10 neighbors voted Trump. And we found the one lonely Democrat.
I've never understood Kiowa County.
Aurora's mayor doesn't understand why his city's mall wasn't prepared for the brawl on the night after Christmas.
We probably should have done better.
There is debate over that, and debate over whether Colorado should keep cutting fat checks to filmmakers to shoot movies here. A family from Denver tries to prove you can successfully sue over school bullying, and saying arrivederci to Colorado's oldest Italian restaurant. Grab a snack, refill your drink. This is an hour-long special edition of Next.
Still no sign of the two brothers abducted this morning in Inglewood by their mother, who doesn't have custody of them. That Amber Alert flashed across the state this morning, and it means that investigators think that their lives are truly in danger. So we ask you to take a moment right off the bat here to look at these photos, even if you, like most people, assume that your paths have never and will never cross. Police believe that Johnny and Joseph DiNapoli, 8 and 12 years old, are with their mother, Rebecca. She has a history of drug abuse and mental health issues. The boys were last seen this morning getting into a silver or gray 2006 Chevy Equinox with temp plates. Police are not sure where Rebecca may be taking the boys. Please call 911 if you've seen them. Call 911. That is also what police and firefighters tell you to do if you ever see a dog fall into icy water. They promise to respond because they know that if they didn't, those of us who love dogs would be more apt to go in after them. Last night at Washington Park in Denver, 2 people went into a pond after a dog. Rescuers then had to go in after all 3 of them. The people were taken to the hospital. They and the dog should be okay. That's not how it's supposed to work. We have to hold up our end of the bargain as dog owners to let the professionals do the rescuing. Today at Wash Park, another dog broke through the ice, and a witness who tried to do the right thing says the system failed.
So I called 911, and my first response from them was, "We don't handle animal calls." And I said, "Well, I think fire handles animal calls. Do you think you could give me that number or patch me through?" And they were like, no, you need to call 311. I called 311, I waited, I talked to an operator, and they told me to call a park ranger. And that park ranger would likely not respond, but I could leave them a voicemail. I was definitely frustrated. I was definitely angry. I was just, I was scared. I mean, we're watching all of this, and I felt like I couldn't do anything to help this poor animal. I didn't want to be watching a dog die while someone decided who the right person to call would be.
Thankfully, as you saw there, someone else was able to get in touch with Denver Fire, who came out just like that, got a hold of the dog out of the water. Denver police are telling us tonight that this sounds like a dispatcher who just didn't know the rules, and police are going to follow up with dispatchers tomorrow. A brief thought on this. Denver rescues pets because this is a pet-loving city, but also because promising to rescue those pets means saving people's lives by convincing them that help's on the way. And it's crucial that both sides hold up their end of the bargain. Pet owners need to trust that if they call 911 in these situations, that rescuers are coming. And dispatchers can't just shrug off concerns because it's not only a pet in danger, it's also any person who might take action if they're convinced that the city doesn't care. I'm curious about your thoughts and your experiences on this. You can email next@9news.com, or as always, get our attention with the hashtag #HeyNext. All right, some great bonding time tonight for people headed down from the mountains after the weekend. Hope that the skiing was great because the ride home was a slip show. Snow piled on top of traffic, and at times the eastbound lanes of I-70 had to be closed at Frisco, at Silverthorne, and at Vail just so the plows could get in there and clear the interstate. I heard Becky Ditchfield in the newsroom tonight talking about snow this, wind that. We'll hear from her directly in just a moment. Our next tradition, weeknights at 6 o'clock, rolls on through the weekends. Is the A-line working today? Nope. It lost power early this morning between 3 and 5 a.m. Another tough day for RTD. People catching early flights had to disembark from the train to the Payne and get aboard buses that took them from 61st and Pena out to the airport. And the poor A-line train, which is essentially on probation with federal train regulators, had trouble again tonight. Trains were running about 30 minutes behind due to switching issues. That is a common problem, most memorably described by one next viewer who is not about to appear in an RTD ad anytime soon.
And the crossing guard's like, what the
Come on, you piece of
Okay, that's like the 12th time we've played that and the 100th time we've heard it, and it does not get old. That would be Tammy, last name withheld with the spicy language, and it was her daughter Marie who was running the recording for us. Tammy's reaction to the A-line is somewhat of a staple on Next because, you know, hashtag journalism. Our featured reporter each and every evening on Next is Steve Steger because he tends to be a lot more professional.
Yeah, maybe. The lights of downtown Louisville are about to get a little dimmer. A Colorado restaurant on the verge of its 100-year anniversary is shutting down. We got a few tips, and the owner of the Blue Parrot confirmed the restaurant is closing.
The history of Louisville is written on the walls of the Blue Parrot, quite literally. A group of organizations actually commissioned a mural here with scenes from the city's history. An appropriate spot, really. The Blue Parrot has been around since 1919. It proudly boasts it is Colorado's oldest Italian restaurant. 98 years, filled with memories for folks. But those 98 years have not been without problems. The restaurant has been struggling for years. The local paper writes about a remodel within the last few. Even a bit of financial help from the city. There is a help wanted sign on the front door and signs for new hours. Then today, we started getting tips from viewers saying the restaurant would close. The owner confirmed it to us by phone. She didn't give us a timetable. Colorado's oldest Italian restaurant will soon pass that distinction down to another.
The restaurant's employees were informed today, but the restaurant is seeking more help for the waning weeks. They expect a crowd in these final days.
Let's talk about movies now and Colorado's contribution to the scene. According to the Internet Movie Database, 2,800 titles list Colorado as one of their filming locations. The most popular, according to IMDb, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, because we all know those mountains aren't in the Chicago suburbs.
Bart, we're stuck under a truck.
You probably also know that Dumb and Dumber was shot here, but that hotel they supposedly stayed in Aspen was actually the Stanley Hotel near Estes Park.
Reached it to the top.
Our state does make a pretty canvas for some movies, but there are plenty of wannabes out there. You know, The Shining was actually based on the Stanley Hotel.
Here's Johnny.
The movie takes place in Colorado, but it was shot in Oregon. Sometimes it's easier for other states to fake it.
And filmmakers fake Colorado because it means cash in their pockets. There are nearby states that offer better tax breaks for movie companies. Tonight here we are debating whether Colorado needs to be in the business of film subsidies.
Film is the American way of storytelling. Colorado has by far the best backdrop for almost every movie you can imagine. My objection is spending money we should be using for core governmental services to give money to millionaires to make more movies here.
Content creation, I believe, is one of the fastest growing and important businesses in the world, and I don't think we should cede content creation to every other state around us.
We'll pick up that discussion again in just a moment. But for the time being, let's put politics and budget expenditures aside. Let's talk about the inspiration behind the work honored tonight at the Golden Globes and work like it. You know, we have a 3-time Emmy-winning composer who lives just right up the road in Littleton. Denise Gentili's role is the kind that flies by in the credits. Maybe someday she'll get a thank you from the stage by a star, but she doesn't do it for that. Denise takes us inside her studio to talk about what really drives her and the risks of living out her dream.
Maybe I'm not approaching my goal in the right way, and then it's not going to be successful. It's not going to stop me from trying, though, as long as I can. My parents, for reasons my sisters and I will never understand, bought an organ. Nobody asked for one, but so that was our first instrument in the house, and we all learned a little bit about how to play the organ, and from that I went to guitar and then went to piano. And I play a little bass, I played a little drums, but piano was my main instrument. It's really rewarding to see actors get up there and speak the words that you've written and sing the songs and put their own twist. I feel really privileged that I can get up every day and feel a sense of purpose, that I can do something with my music that can change people's lives or educate people or emotionally have an effect on them. I'm inspired by people. I'm inspired by everybody's story and what they bring to relationships. I love meeting different people and working with all sorts of types of people and learning who they are, and that's where my inspiration comes from. Why get up every day if there's not some kind of a goal that's other than going to work and making money? I mean, obviously what you do with that money contributes to what you want to do in your life and can feed those dreams. But I think it's important to really feel a sense of purpose and have something that you move towards in this life that we all live, and whether it's short or long, that at the end of it, you don't have any regret, that you did what you believe you came here to do.
Right now, Denise is working on a new musical, and she plans to score a few films later in the year. Look for her name when the credits go by.
All aboard the Trump train as we head for its central terminal in Colorado, a map dot called Eads, where Donald Trump won an astonishing 85% of the vote. Filmmakers keep making movies out of state and pretending they're in Colorado. Should we be paying them to bring that work here? And the bros, whose juvenile hobby might just get someone killed. Next.
It's a sign. Next loves itself a good sign. This one from South Park, Colorado. It reads, "Caution, next traffic light 17 miles. Fair warning, don't want it sneaking up on you." Lori Spear joined the Legion of Next viewers on the lookout for signs around our state that make us laugh and think. She wrote, "Gotta love mountain humor." You can send us the signs that make you do a double take. Email next@9news.com or online anytime if you want to use the hashtag HeyNext. When President-elect Donald Trump is sworn in at the end of next week, the cheer we will hear in Colorado will come from the reddest part of Trump country, Kiowa County. Hillary Clinton, of course, won Colorado, but Trump won Kiowa County with 85% of the vote. Politics guy Brandon Ritteman and photojournalist Chris Shaleen took a little road trip outside our media bubble to Colorado's Trump country.
The small town of Eads, Colorado, is a closer drive to Kansas than Denver.
We're just rednecks out here in the woods.
And when it comes to politics,
maybe just a little better people here, more intelligent people here.
People here voted like birds of a feather. Together for Donald Trump.
Everybody voted their opinion.
This coffee club has all kinds of names.
No account thugs, the deadbeats of Kiowa County.
Some call it the Knowledge Bowl.
The Knowledge Bowl, yeah.
Steaming over the world's problems inside the gas and grill each afternoon.
We're all pretty harmless, really.
To them, President Trump is a welcome change.
And I think it was just about taking back our country. We reward the lazy and steal from the hardworking.
They know a lot of folks watching this in Denver worry about Donald Trump.
He might not want to hear it.
They don't.
I'm the same way on Twitter, so I can't complain.
We damn sure didn't want Hillary. So what other choice we had? Trump.
You could have predicted Trump would win 85% of the vote here. Heck, he won 85% at the high school's mock election.
I took votes of the students. I didn't have them take the votes home, but, you know, influence of the parents. Yeah. So that's polling in Kiowa County.
That is polling in Kiowa County.
But that doesn't mean everyone was thrilled about Trump.
How are you? Hi.
Plenty of Trump's voters here were upset by how he talked about minorities and women.
That was deeply troubling and still is, but not enough to make me not vote for him.
People need to be able to keep more of the money they make.
Joe Shields, the mayor of Eads, says people here voted against government regulation and Obamacare. Those ideas only hold water with Democrats, and it's hard to find one of those here.
I'm very worried.
But ask enough people and you'll get Larry Watts.
Well, I don't understand.
And no, he didn't vote Trump.
He talked long before he thought. His mouth kicked in, and then he finally, a little later, why, it seemed like his brain kicked in.
Larry thinks his neighbors are a little too eager to criticize welfare while cashing their own checks for farm assistance.
I've never understood Kiowa County. Why? When
He doesn't understand you, it would appear by the numbers.
That's probably right, yeah.
But back at the coffee club,
It gets pretty hairy around here at times, buddy.
Darned if Larry the Democrat didn't wander in.
Come on, Larry, get your coffee and come and sit down.
Anyway.
Welcomed by all to sit down and chat. If you can find civility between Trump and Clinton voters at the Gas and Grill in Kiowa County.
It's a good place, really.
Maybe, just maybe,
Lots of good people.
there's hope for the rest of a divided nation. For Next, I'm Brandon Rittiman.
Rittiman's interviewed presidents and senators, congresspeople aplenty, but his extended interview with the mayor of Eads is some seriously interesting political talk. If you're a politics nerd like me, you'll want to check it out. It's on 9news.com.
The night Adele saved Jimmy Fallon. Not that Adele, our Adele. The Golden Globe for Best Drama goes to the men who mix it up on Next over Colorado's film subsidies. And Becky with the good hair and the meteorology degree says wind will wipe away this weekend's warmth in a hurry. Next.
Hi. Good morning.
Bree Valdez,
a scared little teenage girl,
spends each good day
So that'd be 2 pi radians.
fighting off the urge to say goodnight.
When I get sleep attacks, it's like the equivalent of a normal person going 3 days without sleep.
Leaving her with the overwhelming urge.
I'm so tired. Well, if you need any more help when you wake up, just let me know, okay?
The overwhelming urge to go to sleep right in the middle of work, right in the middle of class. Bree has a disorder called narcolepsy.
Like I didn't know that narcolepsy was even a thing.
A good day
Are you just gonna sleep right here?
full of good nights and good classmates who watch out for her.
I can trust people around me not to mess with me and stuff.
Rest assured.
Sometimes people will be like, oh, I wish I could take a nap whenever I wanted. And it's like, you don't say that.
Matchsticks, matchbox, matching tie to matching socks. You don't know why, but you're really special to match point, match game. You and I are not the same, but I can tell that you're really special to me. There is something I can give to make you laugh, to help you live. We're the perfect match, and you're really special to me. We're the perfect match, and you're really special to me.
Only those who have survived combat know what it's like to live with the memories. But Freedom Service Dogs can help veterans struggling with emotional and physical disabilities. Because Freedom Service Dogs are all shelter rescues, your donation today may not only save a dog, but also a veteran desperate to reclaim what has been lost. Help change their lives now at freedomservicedogs.org.
Some filmmakers are fakers. They'll set their movie in America's most beautiful state, obviously, but then they'll make that movie outside Colorado. For the better part of a decade, there has been a heated debate here over how Colorado uses film subsidies to lure in productions. We renew that discussion tonight.
Are there enough movies made in Colorado, and does it really matter anyway? We will explore those questions with my guests now. Donald Zuckerman, who is the commissioner of the state's Film, Television, and Media Office, and John Caldera, who opposes things for a living and is also with the Independence Institute. Let's talk film subsidies.
Oh, I just hate everything. What is it, Groucho Marx, whatever it is, I'm against it. No, culture is a byproduct of life. Film is the American way of storytelling. Colorado has by far the best backdrop for almost every movie you can imagine. My objection is spending money we should be using for core governmental services to give money to millionaires to make more movies here.
If other states are willing to provide bigger subsidies than Colorado, why should we even play that game?
Well, very simply, in the 5 years before I was appointed film commissioner, no one came here. In the 100 years or so of filmmaking prior to that, over 300 movies came here. And very simply put, when Canada and then other states started to have generous film incentives, people stopped coming here because if they want a mountain, they can go to Alberta, they can go to Utah, they can go to New Mexico.
Why does it matter if films are made here, though?
Well, content creation, I believe, is one of the fastest growing and important businesses in the world. And I don't think we should cede content creation to every other state around us. I mean, very simply, we have over 1,000 kids who are in at CU Denver, CU Boulder, and Colorado Film School, all getting state subsidies to go to school here. And when they graduated from school, they had to leave or go into another business.
So let's see, we subsidize them when they go to film school, and then they come out and get corporate subsidies to do films here and other places. You know, government has core functions. Everyone who's riding tomorrow in a traffic jam needs to remember that we're giving money to multi-million-dollar organizations and to multi-million-dollar individuals to make their films here.
John Caldera, Donald Zuckerman, thanks so much for continuing the conversation. And after that, they went to watch a movie together. Next, the day that Golden Globes host Jimmy Fallon did a belly slide across our news desk. Becky Ditchfield busts out her forecast on us, and Jeremy Hohola introduces us to the Laser Bros. Grab a drink, pour some out for all of us working tonight. Next, we'll be right back. Before Jimmy Fallon was a big deal, before he was hosting the Golden Globes, he was wandering around our newsroom looking for a seamstress. He was here shooting some promos before he took over the Tonight Show gig, and he did a full running slide across our news desk as a gag, kind of like Crocodile Mile style, and he tore the buttons off his coat. And Adele Arakawa sewed them back on. Literally, there is nothing that woman cannot do. Hey, for what it's worth, I found Jimmy Fallon to seriously be the most genuine and personable big-time star that I've ever met, in case you're curious.
We're expecting to see snow in the mountains and wind here across the Front Range. Winter storm warnings go through Tuesday. Parts of our northern and central mountains will see new snow measured in feet. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got going on. There you can see the warnings, 1 to 2 feet of new snow possible through Tuesday for Steamboat Springs, Vail, Snowmass, Aspen, and Crested Butte. Close to 30 new inches of snow expected along the Continental Divide. Southwest San Juans will see a new 8 to 16 inches of snow, up to 20 on the eastern side of those mountains. And ahead of this, a lot of dangerous wind. High wind warnings now in effect through 5 a.m. Tuesday for the western suburbs of the Denver metro area, our foothills, and much of southern Colorado, going all the way down I-25. Along those western suburbs of Denver, 60 to 80 mile per hour gusts possible, 90 mile per hour gusts in Estes Park, Idaho Springs, and Evergreen. We are looking at power outages and blowing snow as you enter into that snow up in the mountains. That wind, of course, makes us a lot warmer. We're going to see highs in the 60s, Kyle, come tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, Becky. So lasers are cheap. I mean, like for a few dollars, you can endlessly entertain your cat, you can up your presentation game, or you can point it at a plane and get hit with a felony. You would think that the novelty of that idiocy would wear off over time, but airline pilots actually report those incidents are increasing. Jeremy Hohola from our 911 Snow team finds that it is often young men who can't fix that special kind of stupid.
Right now we're getting hit pretty good with a green laser.
In the air, it's alarming, distracting, and strange. In this news episode, young dudes busted by the feds, Colorado's Laser Bros. Armed with laser pointers, they've committed a felonious act under a 4-year-old federal law. A prank that puts pilots in serious danger. As shown in this FBI video, the small point of light grows to a blinding spotlight in a cockpit.
It's a tremendous distraction.
Just last November, someone lasered our news chopper over Denver.
It was, very surprising. I initially had no idea what it was. Didn't know if something was, hitting us or if something had come off the helicopter.
Thanks to Paul Drexler's photography, police caught up with Ken Carroll, who's expected to face federal charges.
They will then send local sheriff's department or police department, and the FBI will be involved, and they will hunt you down.
Since the new laser law passed, the FBI in Colorado has caught up with 3 other men for aiming a laser pointer at aircraft. Laser bro Eric Gao of Colorado Springs is still waiting to be sentenced. He pleaded guilty to a felony charge for shining a laser at helicopters and even a passenger jet from his bedroom window in Colorado Springs.
A jetpack.
Nathan Finneman, who of all people should know the dangers of lasers in aircraft,
Was pretty speechless the whole flight.
Finneman was featured on 9 News as a paraglider who captured images of the bad Colorado flooding a few years ago.
Which still blew me away.
He admitted to lasering the Denver police chopper in 2013 and got 6 months probation after pleading down to a misdemeanor. And then there's Sahir Suleiman, who also lasered the Denver police chopper. Documents say the pilot suffered temporary blindness and pain. Those are dudes who got caught. Most of the time, pranksters with lasers get away with it. And the numbers we got from the FAA are ugly. The city with the biggest problem nationally, Phoenix, with 263 reported cases in 2015. Denver ranked number 8 in the top 10 cities of laser cases, 138. And even though it's now a felony, cases nearly doubled to 7,000 nationally the same year.
This is a very, very serious event. We've seen a dramatic escalation. This is a real issue right now.
A real danger for pilots and big trouble for bros who get caught.
I live my life with no regrets, with no regrets, with no regrets.
Okay, maybe this guy didn't get the laser point.
No regrets? Come on, bro. A judge is not going to like the sound of that. This past week, we got numbers for 2016, too. Nearly 7,000 laser incidents again nationally this past year, Kyle. Don't do it, bros. Don't do it.
Hey, I'm right behind you, by the way.
Yeah.
Who knew most schools can't be sued for allowing bullying? Except a few schools, which makes this family's case worth watching.
Instead of punching a bully in the nose, how about hitting him with a lawsuit? A couple in Denver is generating a lot of talk in schools as well as legal circles for taking a slightly different approach. Not punching the bully or taking the bully to court, but going after the school. It raises questions about the responsibility of schools across our state when it comes to tackling the issue of bullying. And the couple involved is talking only with 9 Wants to Know's Chris Vanderveen.
He started going here when he was 3. He loved it, they loved it, and then one day not too long ago they learned something had changed.
I think when he told me he was thinking about harming himself, it really was a powerful moment.
Tom and Drew Alborg are understandably protective of both of their kids, but clearly he's the one they're most desperate to protect these days.
I feel helpless. Like you just want to hug him, so that, especially when he starts talking about hurting himself. I don't want to lose my son.
Their 13-year-old son in their lawsuit is simply identified by the initials L.A. The subject of their lawsuit, Montessori School of Denver, is a school they allege allowed persistent and continuous bullying and harassment by fellow classmates.
They stuffed him into lockers. They pushed him into the girls' restroom. Just the constant humiliation that he went through. That's what leads kids to do bad things, harm things.
The U.S. Department of Education says 28% of students in grades 6 through 12 have been subject to bullying. That's millions of students. Only a small handful will have parents who will go as far as to file a lawsuit in response.
The more we don't shine a spotlight on there's a problem, the more it's going to happen.
It's a new wave of litigation arising out of a growing spirit against bullying in schools.
9 News legal analyst Scott Robinson says government immunity laws generally protect public schools from liability. Not so for private schools, and thus the Aalborg's case should be watched closely.
Private school administrators have to be very concerned, if not outright fearful, if suits like this begin to become successful verdicts.
The Aalborg suit says the staff of Montessori School of Denver, in their own handbook, promised a safe learning environment free of disruptions and guaranteed discipline for harassment or bullying. And yet, for more than a year, did little to deal with students who attempted to put their son in sinks and told him they wished he would jump off a building and die.
Private schools, if you're going to promise a caring, nurturing, safe educational environment, you better deliver, or you're liable in court.
It should be said Tom Aalborg was once a board member of the school, and Drew Aalborg still teaches there. In a statement, the school told us it denies the allegations brought by a former board member. The school does not tolerate bullying, adding, "We will not discuss the allegations publicly."
It appeared to us as if they were waiting for us to go away.
The Aalborgs say the bullying dragged on far too long for their son, who they say still suffers, even though they took him out of Montessori School of Denver months ago.
His body, when it wakes up in the morning, does not want to go to school. He thinks, somewhere in him, he thinks something's going to happen to him.
And so they say they will continue to fight this battle, a battle against a school they know their son once loved.
That was Chris Vanderveen reporting. So we asked our own Dr. Max Wachtel, he's our resident mental health guy, for what advice he would be giving to parents of kids who are consistently struggling with bullies. Here's that.
One of the worst things that parents can do is nothing. You got to do something. You do need to let the school know that this is a serious issue and that you're not going to go away. You're not going to let this die.
And just recently, there was a judge in Denver that moved that case to arbitration, thinking this could be settled outside of a trial, and that means a much more confidential process from here on out. Some of your feedback now. Couple dozen emails about one of our top stories tonight, about the dog rescue at Wash Park, in which a caller had trouble getting 911 to respond, as the city says that 911 should respond. And all of you rightfully point out that Denver has a leash law and that those dogs should have been on leashes. Absolutely correct, and worth noting in these stories. Also worth noting is that a lot of dogs, including mine, have slipped leashes before, and the geese at Wash Park are often tempting. But we heard from Davis Galata, who said hope owners are getting charged for those rescues. That's something we can look into. Similar thought echoed by Patrick Colby, Julie Sanchez, Steve Meyer, Leslie Mosier, Dan Corwin, Amanda Ellsworth, and Rosanna Isabel. If that many of you wrote, I should have said something about the leash law. Next, Rod Mackey will attempt to explain a seemingly inexplicable part of the Broncos head coaching search. That email started out bad and it got good at the end. That was a pretty decent one.
How you finish.
Yeah. Two candidates keep getting mentioned as the possible next head coach of the Denver Broncos. Sports guy Rod Mackey is not one of them. Yeah, anyway.
Too old.
Kyle Shanahan and Vance Joseph are the names this year over and over again. Kyle Shanahan, specialty is offense, juggernaut with the Falcons. Joseph's specialty is defense. But his Miami Dolphins defense has been abysmal this year. I mean, just like bottom dweller in the NFL. And if he comes to Denver, that probably means that we lose Wade Phillips, whose defense won us the Super Bowl. So the question for you, sports genius, is simply, huh?
I've never been called that before. I like it. They're 29th. There are 32 teams. That's not good.
Defense,
that's not good. Here's the deal. The Denver D doesn't have the same players as the Miami defense. So I think that's a big reason why. This is about who he has working for him. The Dolphins not as good as the Broncos on defense. He's a young guy. John Elway excited about him because he's a leader of men. We've heard that from so many former Buffs. He's coached for CU, Bowling Green. He's coached for Wyoming and the pros, the Dolphins, the Texans, the Bengals. The Broncos have wanted this guy before. In fact, remember, Kyle, they wanted Vance Joseph, not Wade Phillips. Wade Phillips was actually plan B for the Broncos. Obviously, things worked out quite nicely. He worked with Gary Kubiak in Houston with the Texans. He had a lot of success there, and he can be here now. He's going to interview on Tuesday. If you want Dave Toub, if you want Kyle Shanahan, you're going to have to wait.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are still in the playoffs, so you can't do anything with them. The Falcons still in the playoffs. You want the right guy, but you'd also like to get the guy in place as soon as possible.
People are going to riot if Wade leaves. They have to know that, too.
And it looks like that's going to happen. There's been a lot of talk that he would go to Washington. Joe Woods would take over as the defensive coordinator. But this is what happens in the NFL. This is guys leave. Wade's not going to be here forever. It's unfortunate for the guys on defense because they love Wade. But they also like Joe Woods, who coaches the secondary right now. The secondary is a strength on that Denver D, which is one of the best in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm not going to say the word spoiled, but...
Oh, yeah.
Did just win the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
So there you go. All right, Rod, many thanks.
Okay.
Up next here, my in-depth conversation with the mayor of Aurora about the mall brawl there and why he thinks they should have seen it coming. The most Colorado thing we saw today are the creative ways that Colorado clears snow, besides using the taxpayer-friendly sunshine method. When we saw Loveland strapping plows to garbage trucks, we asked how you clear snow in your city, town, or neighborhood. And this is what we received. This was definitely our favorite. Samantha Gardner lives in Fort Collins, says her neighborhood does not get plowed, so her dad takes it upon himself, gets out the tractor, and gets the job done. That looks vintage to my eye as well. Shout out to the Gardners. And we're curious, how does your small neighborhood or town clear snow when it gets deep? Email us next at 9news.com. The Aurora Mall has managed to rack up negative headlines for decades. Violence, allegations of racism by mall staff, and most recently, a series of fights on the night after Christmas that forced police to evacuate the whole mall and make arrests. Aurora's Mayor Steve Hogan tells Next that the mall's reputation in his mind is unfair, but that doesn't mean he's happy.
One of the things that we as the city of Aurora have been trying to do is deal with not only the perception of the Aurora Mall, but what we find as a perception of the city itself. That people who live in Aurora like it, love it, feel a connection with community, feel a connection with the schools, they know their neighbors, they're happy. It's just everybody else who doesn't believe that.
Does that mall have a particular problem with rowdy kids and violence?
I don't think it does, but I do think it has a reputation. And that's something that we just have to deal with. Let's take a comparison to the 16th Street Mall downtown Denver. I'm pretty certain that over the last 3 or 4 years there have been far more arrests on the 16th Street Mall for simple assaults, for robberies, for pickpocketing, for whatever it is, than there have been at the Aurora Mall. But that doesn't mean that we can't do better.
What does better look like?
It's been pretty clear that this has been a trend in malls the day after Christmas all across the country. Well, if it's a trend, then we ought to be prepared for it rather than being surprised by it.
Do you feel like they were kind of caught flat-footed there and shouldn't have been?
Yeah, I do feel that way. If there was knowledge that this was kind of happening and had been happening for several years now in malls across the country, we should have done it. And we probably should have done better. And I've been in contact with both the city manager and police chief and indicated that.
Do you think that some of the fixation on it and the perception of people outside the community and in the media has a racial tinge to it?
I honestly don't know. I've heard some whispering in the background about that, but I don't know. If I walk in there today, I will see the same kind of diversity that Aurora has. In the end, that's what Aurora is all about. We're the most diverse city in Colorado. It's not Denver, it's Aurora. And we're proud of that fact. And the mall helps to serve the entire community.
Mayor Hogan, thanks for your time. Appreciate you coming in. Interestingly, Aurora Mayor Steve Hogan said anytime we're talking about the Aurora Mall, we need to be talking about the future of that property. He told me it's 30 years old, and in the next 5 to 10 years, they need to talk about what goes into that site. Businesses, homes. He's looking ahead. We're looking ahead to your feedback when we return, including the story tonight that moved a Broncos player to reach out to us. You know what? Why don't we do that right now? Olivia Garcia wrote to us saying, like Next, he says the truth. I assume you're talking about Steve Stager. He is remarkably talented. I heard from Renee Forsyth, who said, Kyle, please dial back the sarcasm. Comes across as arrogance and stupidity. Arrogance and stupidity. That is a bad combo, Renee. We will work on that. Jay Schaefer writes, way to ruin the post-Golden Globes. When will real news return to KUSA? Wish that Kyle will make the move to the bigger market of his dreams. Bad news, Jay. I'm living my dream. Welcome to your nightmare. And Brandon McManus of the Denver Broncos wrote in. He wants to talk to the family involved in that bullying case, meet the kid, and offer his support. @TheKidMcManus on Twitter if you want to follow Brandon. He is a very funny guy.